Hello and welcome to www.luxurytolast.com. Today I want to talk about watch collecting, and I've got a simple question. Why are people so stupid? I was going to have as the title, why are people so fucking stupid, but I thought we might ditch that there. Why are people so stupid in watch collecting? Let me explain this to you. I've been a watch collector for years. I love watches since I remember the first watch I saved up for was an Omega Seamaster. I went and bought when I was about 14. I wanted an Omega, and then it started my quest. Then I got a Rolex, and I got a Patek Philippe, had Cartier, had so many brands. It's not funny. Now the thing is this: one thing I've noticed in watch collecting itself, there people are fucking stupid. Now let me explain this, okay? Some of the greatest models of watches that are out there can be bought for a song. And people seem to get caught up on new trends and fashions. And I've always been a super trendsetter. I've always jumped the trend 15, 20 years before it actually happened. For example, when I was at school, I did typing. Everyone laughed at me and said, that's a girl's subject to do. And sure enough, the advent of the computer, everyone needs to type now. I also, at the time, I did home economics. Everyone said to me, Paul, you're gay. Why are you doing such a gay subject? And sure enough, they'd go off with their boyfriends in the woodwork and metalwork session, and I'd be left with all the girls in home economics. You tell me who's gay? And I'm sorry to say this to you, but I think China has they've mastered the art of manufacturing, and having some cooking skills is going to impress a lady much more than being able to put a shitty piece of furniture together that you can buy from China for a fraction of your hourly rate. The thing with watchmaking and watch collecting, I can't believe there's watches out there that just aren't worth a lot, but they represent the best brands. Let me talk about this. The Holy Trinity, the three big brands, AP, PP, VC. There are absolute bargains there. Thin, ultra-thin dress watches, okay, a little bit small, somewhere between 31 and 35 millimeters, are an absolute steal. Often they'll have a Geneva seal movement, a highly decorated bridges, chamfered edges, and sure enough, you can buy good examples for $2,000 to $4,000. This is an 18-carat watch that you can buy for virtually nothing. However, people clamour and get really excited over a Rolex Datejust or a Submariner or a GMT. I mean, I love Rolex. Rolex is it's a brand that I hold really close to my heart. But to be honest with you, have you actually seen the movement on a Rolex? It's very, very plain. It's very utilitarian. I mean, it's a great watch to wear everywhere, but if you wanted a special piece, instead of having a ceramic GMT, for half the money, wouldn't you be better off buying a vintage Vacheron and Constantine? Or having a vintage Audemars on your wrist? And it's just strange. There are some models of Rolex that people have given the wide berth. What's wrong with the Rolex Bubbleback? I've always loved Bubblebacks. The Rolex Prince, well, it's actually, the Rolex Prince has held its money, but I mean the Bubbleback, isn't that kind of a cool kind of watch to have? But everyone's gone for these early Submariners, early GM. They're worth a fortune now, and I can appreciate that. I've owned many of those pieces. I've had vintage plastic Sea Dwellers, plastic 1680s, plastic Explorer 2s, and I can see the worth in them. But for me, bang per buck, if you're looking at the the top of watchmaking, wouldn't you be better off having a nice VC or AP or PP dress watch, even if it is a little bit small? The whole point of fine watchmaking was to make the watch as small as possible. That's just my view on the subject, and I kind of think it's sad. It's very sad that these days people are into these huge Panerai. I love Panerai. Panerai is a great brand, but wouldn't you kind of like a vintage piece on your wrist? A vintage piece with a Geneva seal movement? A vintage piece which is from a company that's been in existence for 250 years? Wouldn't that kind of be, kind of more trendy? I mean, you look at some of the advertisements for Audemars Piguet in the 70s. For the price of a Rolls Royce, you can have a good watch. You kind of think the Audemars ethos in the factory at the time would have been for high-end watches. It would have been for excellence at no compromise. I mean, these are great brands. You look at a brand like Panerai. What is Panerai? Well, in my opinion, it's just a brand that died and it's been reinvigorated by Richemont. And sure, they've got some nice pieces, but they really don't have the history of the Trinity members. And I don't know, the world's a strange place there. I must admit, I'm a bit shy of the Audemars has got the Royal Oak offshore chrono. Anything that went that big, I don't understand why the traditional Royal Oak, it went that way. The Royal Oak was such a beautiful watch. I'd never ever want a Royal Oak offshore chrono in the huge vulgar size. I mean, it just looks to me, just screams to me of lotto winner who's let loose in a casino jewelry shop. I mean, it's very, very nouveau riche. And even Vacheron and Constantine, I always prefer the Vacheron and Constantine watches. The and denoting that they are pre-1970s, the vintage pieces. And I just think it's sad that people just go for these big, they follow the trends so much, when if you look at the past history, there are absolute bargains there. Okay, that may not be the trendy one to have as the thin dress watch, but who are you trying to impress? Who are you trying to please? A classic, iconic member piece from the Holy Trinity members is just reeks of class. Thank you for watching this video, and please come to my website www.luxurytolast.com. Bye bye.